Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Blossom and Bourbon. My name is Mark. I'm the owner here at Creative Occasions. I'm happy to have you in my workroom. Today we are going to look at a style that is really a very, again, it's sort of like the radial style. It's one that's seated in tradition. It's one that has been around for a long, long time, called the Crescent design style. But if you'll pay attention to what happens with the Crescent, you'll notice that a lot of what you're seeing now, a lot of this very loose and kind of free-flowing design has very much a crescent shape about it. And that's one of the things I kind of find interesting is even if a designer currently is not aware that they're going back to an old style that they may be. Another thing that I decided to do today, because here in my area we're getting into the fall season, so I wanted to incorporate some fall elements, some fall textures. I think about, of course, beautiful colors during fall, but also textures and other materials. One of the things that I've done often, and that I hope that you have tried, if not after tonight you will, is to use a pumpkin as the container for your arrangement. Now, because it's just ahead of pumpkin season here in my area, I'm using a ceramic version of the pumpkin. But just as a couple of notes about prep, if you are using a fresh pumpkin. One thing, if you're going to work directly in the pumpkin, make sure that it's for short term. It would work great for an event. If you're doing flowers for a dinner, that's a special event. They need to be beautiful for a few hours. And you don't have to worry too much about the integrity of the pumpkin maintaining its ability to keep water in. That's one of the reasons that you would just want to use the real pumpkin and work directly in it. If you do want it to be a longer lasting arrangement and you need to come up with another way to kind of get at the mechanics, just like with the real pumpkin, you would cut the top off, clean out the gushy part that's on the inside, and then use something like this to just slip right down inside it. And then this can either have the tape grid on the top, you could use chicken wire in this, you could use nothing in this, but this would then be the vessel for the arrangement and would keep the pumpkin protected from all that exposure to water. That will help make the pumpkin last a little bit longer. So tonight, because we're doing a ceramic pumpkin, I am going to use chicken wire. And we've done chicken wire once before at least, and one of the things that you need to be aware of with chicken wire is as you're, kind of getting it into the container, you want to make sure that you at least have a couple of different levels of chicken wire as you're binding it up. And part of the reason for that is when you put a stem through the top level of the chicken wire, if it's not also situated at the bottom in something, it can spin around. You'll have lots of movement in it. And as you'll see from this arrangement, it's going to be important that we have a place to kind of secure the branches and the stems down in the arrangement. So if you can see that from this camera above me, you'll see that there's lots of interconnecting of that mesh that is the chicken wire. And so when we put stems in there, it's going to be nice and secure. One of the things that I love about this time of year is just the natural things that we have access to in our yards. And this came straight from my yard. This is off of a little crabapple tree that we have. And I love this little fruit on it. The foliage is not so great, but honestly, I kind of like how rustic it looks. I just kind of like how that feels. So we're going to use this to create part of the first line that is going to be helping us create that sort of crescent shape. Yeah, see what I mentioned about the turning? There we go. And we'll have some other material in there too that's going to help hold that in place. But you remember, 2 or 3 of the very first insertions that you make in an arrangement are going to help establish the overall height and the overall width of the arrangement. So that's why these insertions are going to be important, okay? Again, trimming off anything that's going to be under the water. I do want to edit this a little bit because it looks a little full at the top. I want it to feel a little lighter and a little wispier. So I'm going to just edit some of those branches out. And now already you're going to be able to see the impact of the crescent, right? Can you see that shape? That's exactly what we're talking about a crescent design is. And isn't that a shape that you've seen in very modern work online, where you look on your Instagram feed or watch other YouTube videos, you see lots of this shape in floral design. And it's actually a shape that's been around for a long, long time. Okay, something else for my yard are these great limelight hydrangeas. Gotta love the color of these. Again, this time of year, because it starts to turn that little blushy pink color, it really is beautiful. And there goes the branches. Let's put a little more water in here too. I want to just say thanks to Anne while I'm thinking about it. I got a comment from her on our previous episode because I mentioned Anne's husband, who is my buddy that likes the Weller Special Reserve. So I hope that Anne and Dean are going to be watching this episode today too. All right, so I'm just going to kind of tuck some of these in. Again, I primarily want these to kind of give some fullness to the arrangement, kind of down low. Again, to kind of secure some of those other flowers in place. One of the things I really like about this type of hydrangea is this kind of shape and the open texture of it. It's just so much fun. All right, so far so good. Let's get a couple of bigger stems in. Again, for this time of year, you know I'm a fan of sunflowers. I think they're a beautiful way to add texture and that beautiful kind of golden color to the design. Stay. All right. And my buddies, the Free Spirit Roses, you guys have seen those before too. And you're going to see them again because I love them. So for those of you watching, let me know in the comments what are some of the things that you have in your yard that you like using for your flower arrangements that you have at home. Do you go and cut things out of your yard? Do you bring them inside? Do you just leave them in your yard so you can enjoy them when you're looking outside or when you walk through your yard? I'd love to know about that. I'll tell you a funny story about my wife. I told her one time, this has been a number of years ago, that I wanted a cutting garden. And for those of you who don't know, my wife is a farmer. And so she said, oh, okay, well, I'll get a place ready in the yard for you. And so I came home and there was this giant place because she'd taken the tractor and just plowed up this huge place in our yard. And I said, you know, I didn't really want a full-time occupation with a cutting garden, just some flowers I could use every now and then. But it was awesome. This product that I'm using is a form of leucadendron. And leucadendron is actually a tropical, so I didn't get this in my yard, but the colors are just perfect for this time of year. And this particular variety is called Jester because of this striped sort of pattern on the leaves. It's just really awesome. And I thought it would be good to use that to kind of emphasize the lines of the crescent that we're making. And also, I should tell you that in some floral design, flower world things, you'll see this design style called curvilinear design. And you can get that and understand that too because we're actually creating curves with linear floral product. So that kind of lends itself to that. Oh, let's get this guy in there. Great flower. These are local grown from a farm. It's called Gaillardia. I hope I'm saying that right. It's a great little flower, Really pretty, kind of interesting bloom, and perfect for this time of year. The arrangement's starting to feel a little tighter inside, so not only is the chicken wire doing its job, but the flowers that are in there are starting to lace together with the stems, create that network, so it's beginning to hold things in place a little bit better. Now watch, as soon as I've said that, this big thing is going to turn again. Now, this aspect of this arrangement, this kind of wispy, open feeling of these flowers kind of floating above the arrangement, that's what we see so much in a lot of very contemporary work right now. It's a beautiful way to really enjoy and kind of call attention to a specific flower like this, because it literally floats above the arrangement. So it's a super cool way to do that. But that's what sort of makes this look like a lot of that more modern work that we're seeing right now. Another locally grown flower, this is called gomphrena. It sort of reminds me of clover. It's a great little, just a little accent flower. Again, it's going to kind of do the same thing that the gaillardia is doing with floating above it. All right, what else did I bring that I wanted to put in this? Oh yeah. This is a form, well, since it's all tangled, let me just bring it all up here. This is a form of Rudbeckia, black-eyed Susan, and this variety is called Triloba, and that's primarily because it's got these great little breaks on it that have all these little side shoots. So it's a great little wispy kind of flower, which is what we're going to be using it for, to kind of add to the openness of this. And yet visually, we want to be sure that we're staying true to this crescent. So we want to kind of emphasize that line a little bit if we can. These little guys also came from a local farm. That farm's name is Simply Daisies, and it's actually located in Boone's Mill, I believe. Great owner and her family come in and bring us flowers often. All right, I think it's good on that. Just a little more of that red tone, I think, is going to help in there to kind of pull out this leucadendron and that sort of reddish color of the gaillardia. This product is called astilbe, and wow, do I love astilbe. Just got these great little feathery plumes. It comes in this shade of red, it comes in pink, it comes in white. It's a great flower to use in wedding work too. It's beautiful in bouquets, just gorgeous. Trying to make sure I can get it in the water there. You know, I kind of like that. I think I'm just about done. So what I did right there, it looked like there was just a little spot right there at the rim of our pumpkin that I wanted to have just a little bit of that yellow in, and the same thing right over here. So just going to add a touch of that. You know, people who aren't accustomed to dealing with flowers, sometimes when they watch us pull flowers apart and yank them, and, you know, they really are a lot more forgiving than we give them credit for. They are, many of them, very delicate, and you have to, you know, use a lot of caution with them, but don't be alarmed when you see me ripping things apart. All right, I think I'm feeling good about that. Jason, how's it look from over there? Awesome, thank you. All right, so what we have is a curvilinear or crescent design built in a lovely fake pumpkin just for you for the fall season. So again, one of the things I love about fall is all this texture, certainly these bright colors. Go out in your yard, pick some stuff, bring it inside and have fun with it because flowers should be enjoyed. Just like bourbon should be enjoyed. And so tonight we are going to be tasting Four Roses. And the Four Roses Distillery is in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Unfortunately, I have not been to Four Roses, but I have enjoyed their products before. And the interesting thing about Four Roses is that they use 5 different yeast strains. That's something I learned when I was in Kentucky, that the yeast that they use that kind of starts and enlists the fermentation process is actually a really important part of the flavor that ends up in the bourbon. So this company actually uses 5 different yeast strains and 2 different mash bills. And the mash bills, again, are the recipes, how much corn, how much rye, how much wheat, whatever. And then with those combinations of 5 and 2, they came up with at least 10 different bourbon recipes. So for this particular bottle, which is actually called their small batch, they use 4 of those 10 that are sort of, in their words, mingled together. A lot of people or a lot of distilleries are using the term blends. So it's 4 recipes that are blended together into this bottle. And full disclosure, I have had this one before. It's a great pour. Beautiful color in the bottle, kind of that lovely sort of coppery caramel color. Great, especially with the colors in the arrangement that we have tonight. Let's make sure the guy working over there is having some. All right, so the color is beautiful. A little bit lighter in the glass than some, but still got a great color to it. Definitely a little bit of a spice kind of fragrance to it. This has a tiny bit of heat, so there's just like a little bit of that cinnamony note that sometimes is characteristic of a bourbon that's got a little bit of heat to it. Definitely some berries, some other fruits in it. Definitely caramel. Again, those sweeter notes to me seem to come through as a caramel reading. So it's very good. It's very mellow. It is very nice. Definitely finishes for me in the back of my throat. Very good though. Looking forward to the time when I can go back to Kentucky and visit the Four Roses Distillery. I guess that about wraps up this episode, you guys. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed Crescent Design. I hope that you'll give Four Roses a try. And until next time, cheers to you and to flowers every day. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.